Imagine this. You work as hard as ever, maybe even harder, yet each trip to the grocery store, each stop at the gas station, each bill you pay leaves your wallet feeling a little emptier. Why? Is inflation the sole culprit, or is something else driving this shift? Today, we're diving into why your money doesn't stretch like it used to, and what's happening to hard-earned cash worldwide. Hello everyone, I am Brian. Welcome back to Trendwave News TV, where we take you deep into the issues that shape your everyday life. Today, we're unraveling a global crisis that's squeezing wallets across all incomes: inflation, wage stagnation, and the so-called economic recovery. We'll break down exactly what's happening with inflation and your purchasing power, explain why wages are barely budging, and examine how these trends tie into upcoming elections. By the end, you'll see why many of us feel financially stuck and what might lie ahead for us all. Let us begin by talking about the inflation squeeze. How much are prices really rising? Let us understand this by discussing the following points. Point number 1. What is inflation? Inflation isn't just about the rise in prices. It's about the general cost of living increasing across the board. This impacts everyday essentials like food, rent, healthcare, and gas. But it doesn't hit every category equally. For instance, in 2023, food prices in the US rose over 4%, while gas prices surged by nearly 10%. So, while you're paying more for everything, specific categories can eat into your budget at an even higher rate. Point number 2, the real-world impact on essentials. Imagine your grocery shopping. 2 years ago, $100 would have covered your essentials for the week. But today, those same items will cost closer to $120. Over a month, that's an extra $80 just for groceries. That's like losing $20 each trip, which may not sound like much at first, but it adds up to nearly $1,000 over a year just for food. Point number 3, the global perspective. Inflation hits hard globally. Inflation doesn't stop at borders. While the US inflation rate is concerning, some countries face far worse situations. Argentina, for example, recently experienced an inflation rate over 100%, meaning the cost of living more than doubled in just 1 year. This global perspective shows that inflation isn't just a US problem, it's an economic wave affecting millions. One of the realities of inflation is wage stagnation. Why aren't salaries rising? Firstly, what is wage stagnation? Wage stagnation is when wages fail to rise significantly over time, especially when compared to inflation. Over the past decade, the average US wage growth hovered around 3%, while inflation outpaced it at nearly double that rate, squeezing purchasing power out of every paycheck. Even though some people are earning more on paper, what they can actually buy has decreased. What is the real impact of inflation on purchasing power? Let's say you're making $50,000 a year. A decade ago, that would have bought more. But today, with inflation chipping away, that same salary has a purchasing power closer to $45,000. You're effectively losing $5,000 worth of goods and services, meaning your annual earnings today get you less than they did 10 years ago. What then is the real reasons behind stagnant wages? Why aren't wages keeping up? Companies often look to cut costs, sometimes through automation and outsourcing. Many businesses also hire part-time or gig workers rather than offering full-time positions with benefits. So while unemployment rates might look good on paper, many workers are still stuck in jobs without growth, benefits, or wage increases. Even those with steady employment are often stretched as salaries lag behind living costs. What is economic recovery and who's really benefiting? First, let us look on who gets left behind. The phrase economic recovery sounds positive, but it doesn't mean everyone's benefiting equally. In fact, while companies report record profits, most of these gains don't reach their employees. For instance, major corporations might see their profits rise by 10%, while their workers see wages rise only by 2%. The wealth created during these recovery periods often stays at the top, leaving regular workers behind. Secondly, let us do a wealth inequality reality check. Let's look at some numbers. Today, the top 10% hold over 70% of the world's wealth, while the remaining 90% share just 30%. This means that as the economy grows, a small elite reaps the majority of benefits. If a company generates 1 million in profit, a typical employee might see mere pennies of that growth, while executives receive bonuses in the thousands or even millions. This imbalance leaves regular workers struggling to stay afloat despite economic growth. What then are the election implications? These financial struggles are becoming election issues. Rising costs, stagnant wages, and wealth inequality have people calling for policies that address income fairness and corporate responsibility. Politicians are pressured to address these issues because voters are looking for change. Policies that ensure more equitable wage growth and hold corporations accountable for fair pay. The elections may hinge on these questions. Who will support the average worker? Who will tackle wealth inequality and offer solutions for stagnant wages? As we wrap up this report, in summary, inflation, wage stagnation, and a skewed economic recovery have left many people feeling financially trapped. It's not just that prices are going up, it's about wages failing to keep up, and the majority of economic gains benefiting only a select few. As we head into election season, these issues will remain at the forefront, as voters demand policies that prioritize fair wages, corporate accountability, and economic equity. If this report sheds light on why your wallet feels lighter each month, please subscribe for more in-depth coverage on the issues affecting you. Drop a comment below about how inflation is impacting your day-to-day life. Your insights add to the conversation. Thanks for watching Trendwave News TV. Stay informed, and we'll see you next time. Be sure to click on the links in the description to enjoy some wonderful products.